If you want to survive in the treacherous wild, then a shelter like this is definitely the best choice. It is not only built on a tree over 10 meters high, easily defending against attacks from wolves and leopards, but its high and enclosed structure can also withstand temperatures of -20 degrees. If hungry, one can make a bow and trap to catch a pheasant weighing 2.5 pounds, perfectly defining what a wilderness survival textbook is. To survive in the wild, the most important things are food, water, sources, and shelter. Here, Carl hadn't walked for long before discovering a natural prime location. This place is adjacent to a creek, so living nearby means no worries about fresh water. Moreover, there is a huge tree right next to it. The key point is that this tree is completely dead, so building a home on it comes with zero guilt. Thinking of this, he immediately checked his tools and went around cutting down some fallen small trees. After collecting a sufficient amount, he assembled the portable hand drill, used wooden sticks to build a basic platform, giving himself a foothold for construction. To build a shelter up in a tree, the first problem to solve is getting up and down. For this, Carl sawed the wood into rods and drilled holes into the trunk for the first time. The goal is to insert the wooden sticks to create a perfect spiral staircase. He has strict requirements for height and width, so that the finished product is strong enough to bear his weight. The result he got is indeed quite good, but stepping on it still feels a bit risky. So he brought some branches and nailed them to the stairs for reinforcement. Now it looks much safer. Satisfied, he immediately began pruning excess branches. He first tied ropes to the top of the wood, then took his tools and started sawing. This way, when he pulls the rope from below, the wood won't fall and hit him. This rope can also be used for hoisting, preventing heavy loads from damaging the stairs while entering or exiting. He used the hand drill to make holes again, and hammered in wooden pegs to fix it. Although this wood isn't as thick as a wrist, its load-bearing capacity is solid enough. Next, he repeated the process to build out the entire foundation frame. By the time it was done, evening had arrived. Although the shelter wasn't finished yet, the height was safe enough for Carl to make do for the night. When the new day arrived, he was surprised to find himself in midair. Luckily, he tied a safety rope before sleeping, so he didn't wake up falling to his death. He simply picked some wild vegetables for energy, then took a waterproof sheet from his bag to lay waterproofing measures on the foundation. Then he carved tenons on the ends of the logs and inserted them into the holes to form a frame. Since this shelter is built in the air, the wood doesn't need to be too large. Living up there, he doesn't fear beast attacks. He just needs protection from wind and rain. He arranged every piece of wood strictly, and the lengths were perfect. For Carl, work and life have never been separated. It's just a change of form. Some choose to build their ideal life in the mountains, while others return to the city, find a stable job and build a career. After all, getting a job abroad isn't hard, and with his rich construction experience, he could easily find a high-paying job. Construction workers aren't like us regular folk, often having to run around just to find a good job, ending up with either low wages or being far from home. Luckily, a friend who found a job first told me, it's faster to find a job on fiverr.com. There are many general jobs verified by the platform. It's guaranteed and reliable. You can also do interviews, chatting while applying. The efficiency is super high. The platform compensates if no reply in 24 hours. Once the job is settled, you can find a landlord to rent directly. Everything succeeds easily with fiverr.com. The only result in the city is poor indoor lighting. Fortunately, Carl has a solution. He went to pick up a plastic bottle nearby, filled it with water, and stuck it in a gap reserved in the roof. Sunlight refracting through the water makes it bright. And there's a recessed coverboard, so no worries about stepping through, even if sleepwalking. For the remaining leftover scraps, Carl chose to use them to make a bed. Given the weather, he can't sleep directly on the floor. Soon, a perfect single bed took shape. With a bed in place, a dining table is naturally essential. This facility was even simpler to make. At this point, the shelter is halfway done. Considering the winter is extremely cold, he needs to make a secret spot. He chose to extend it from the corner of the bed, so carbon monoxide won't easily enter his lungs. After setting up the basic frame, he prepared clay for sealing. Luckily, there was plenty of yellow clay nearby, and the river with sufficient water. He used the river mud to mix mortar for construction, after sealing the surface with sticks and clay. Carl also raised the height of the chimney. This way, unless there's a rainstorm, he doesn't have to worry about rain seeping in. Plus, the smoke ventilation is excellent. Smoke is smoothly exhausted from the top, while continuing to look for sods to cover the roof. He unexpectedly found a beast under the tree, driven by manly curiosity. He immediately ran over to check, only to find it was a stone carving. For such a cute little thing, Carl certainly wouldn't put it in his stomach. So, after a brief interaction with it, he let it go home, then continued paving the roof with grass beds. And truth be told, after his simple embellishment, the appearance instantly looked much more beautiful, especially his homemade light bulb, which appears exceptionally bright in the daylight. Of course, the four walls couldn't be ignored. After all, most heat is lost through them. After covering all layers, Carl found time to saw dozens of wood blocks to pave the ground as flooring, making it more comfortable to step on. Now this shelter is completely finished. Although the space is small, living inside is enclosed and safe, and it has all the necessary facilities. He had barely lain down for 5 minutes when he accidentally heard an animal nearby. Having been on an empty stomach for days, he immediately gathered branches and sticks to make himself a primitive bow and arrow. After testing to ensure it worked fine, he searched along the creek and finally successfully spotted a pheasant in a tree. Locking onto the target, he quickly drew his bow. Looking at the size, it's at least 2.5 pounds. In the next shot, the chicken was stripped of its feathers. To mourn this life, Carl decided to use the barbecue method, letting it shine brightly in the blazing fire. Only when roasted, until crispy outside and tender inside, did Carl begin to enjoy the meal. After eating his fill, he lay down to rest peacefully. This shelter gives an unusually high sense of security. A few days later, due to Christmas, Carl took time off to go home for a few days. When he returned again, the forest was covered in heavy snow, everywhere revealing traces of extreme cold. Luckily, the shelter seemed unaffected, except the stairs had disappeared, replaced by many unknown devils, icicles, obstacles. Now, to make entry and exit easier, Carl immediately went nearby to cut wood. He just needed to cut it into equal short segments and tie them together with rope. This way, he could get a temporary rope ladder. Using it for access is indeed very convenient. Once up, he immediately laid out his bedding, although his body was warm from the long trek. Carl still scraped off a lot of tree bark to make a fire and remove the indoor humidity. As the flames burned more and more vigorously, this home was welcoming its owner back. There are benefits to snowy days too. Getting water is much more convenient. Although a pot of snow melts into just a cup of water, it was enough to relieve Carl's thirst. The remaining time today was used by Carl to find food. He wandered for a long time with his shadow axe, finally hearing wolves howling nearby. Since two fists can't fight for hands, and Carl isn't that tough, he immediately hid back in the shelter. He just needed to close the cover, and outside threats were instantly isolated. Although he didn't hunt any food today, Carl is still satisfied with a home and a fireplace. At least, sleeping inside ensures his safety.